We are perpetual prisoners of someday. Just let me finish this agonizing project, land this prestigious job, clear this suffocating debt, or finally make that oblivious person love me. Then the heavens will part, and I shall inherit eternal peace. It is a charming delusion, isn't it? We cheerfully mortgage our present, offering it as collateral for a completely fabricated future. We endure a parched soul today, relentlessly whipping ourselves toward a mythical summit, convinced the view will compensate for the bleeding. But tell me, haven't you tasted the bitter irony of arrival? You claw your way to that desperate peak, only to find the euphoric high evaporating in seconds, replaced by a cavernous, mocking void. We realize with a sinking dread that we were actually happier in the chase, and so, terrified of the emptiness, we immediately point at a higher mountain, stepping blindly back onto the eternal, exhausting treadmill of desire. Why does the prize turn to ash the moment we grasp it? Why is accomplishment always shadowed by a hollow stranger? To understand this tragicomedy, we must peer through the cold, unsentimental lens of evolutionary biology. Do not flatter yourself by blaming a lack of willpower or emotional fragility. Your brain was quite literally designed to betray you. Neuroscience calls it the dopamine reward prediction error. Dopamine masquerades in pop culture as the pleasure hormone, but its true identity is the anticipation molecule. It floods your system to make you hunt, to make you chase the mirage. But the second you secure the prize, the brain realizes there is nothing left to anticipate. The dopamine plummets. That agonizing crash, that is the biological reality of your precious empty feeling. From an evolutionary standpoint, it is brutally logical. Imagine our ancestors in the unforgiving wilderness. If a hominid killed a single deer, found a moderately warm cave, and decided, I have achieved my goals, I shall now rest in eternal gratitude, they would have been devoured by a saber-toothed tiger by Tuesday. Nature did not select for the content and the Zen. The cruel game of natural selection favored the chronically dissatisfied, the anxious, the perpetually hungry. We are the legacy of those miserable, restless survivors. Our inability to savor the finish line is the very biological weapon that kept us alive. But today, trapped in a complex modern civilization rather than a hunter-gatherer savanna, the survival instinct has mutated into a psychological poison. Armed with this bleak biological truth, let us face the mirror of ancient wisdom. The Stoics of ancient Greece dissected this neurosis perfectly. Epictetus, a slave who became Rome's preeminent philosopher, handed us a bitter but liberating pill. There are things up to us and things not up to us. Your suffering begins the precise moment you try to leash the uncontrollable. Think about it. Is the result you are bleeding for actually in your hands? You can study until your eyes bleed, but the exam questions or a sudden fever are out of your jurisdiction. You can pour your soul into loving someone, but their reciprocation is entirely their own chaotic free will. You can draft a flawless business plan only to be wiped out by a global pandemic. The result is not a polite receipt for your hard work, it is an unpredictable lottery dictated by the universe. Stoicism warns us that obsessing over the finish line is a self-imposed hell. Instead, we must pour every ounce of our fire into the only domain we actually own, the process. If the outcome is a failure, yet you maintained your moral architecture and gave your absolute all, you are already untouchable. This is not a consolation prize for losers. It is the ultimate declaration of sovereignty. Albert Camus echoes this in the myth of Sisyphus, condemned by the gods to push a massive boulder up a mountain only to watch it roll back down for eternity. Sisyphus seems the ultimate tragic figure. Are we not the same, pushing the boulder of our daily grind only to wake up and do it again? But Camus insists Sisyphus is not pathetic. In the moment he turns around, walks back down the mountain, and places his calloused shoulder against the stone, knowing full well it will fall again, he becomes a god in his own right. Stripped of the illusion of a final victory, the sheer defiant act of pushing the boulder is what elevates him above his fate. While the West teaches us to defiantly shoulder the boulder, Eastern wisdom offers a quieter, perhaps more devastating antidote, becoming the water that dissolves it. Consider Wu-Wei, the core of Taoist philosophy. Wu-Wei does not mean lazy inaction. It means effortless action, ceasing to violently force outcomes and instead moving in alignment with the natural current. Lao Tzu taught that the highest excellence is like water. Water does not scream and bash itself against the rock. It merely flows, persistently, softly, and over millennia it carves canyons out of granite. You, on the other hand, are constantly swinging a hammer at the boulder of your ambitions. It is exhausting, and you are only bloodying your own hands. Taoism asks, can you drop the hammer, release your pathetic grip on the outcome, and simply flow through today's tasks with fluid grace? The Buddha diagnosed this exact pathology. Life is suffering, and the root of this agony is attachment. The moment you grasp at a desired outcome, terrified of losing it, you construct your own psychological prison cell. In Zen Buddhism, the journey is not a means to an end, it is the end. Consider the Zen archer. The archer who hyperfixates on the bullseye tenses their shoulders, disrupts their breathing, and ultimately misses the mark. But the archer who immerses entirely in the sensation of the grip, the tension of the bowstring, the rhythm of the breath, the one who merges with the process, hits the target without even looking. The arrow in the bullseye is merely a polite byproduct of a flawless process. It is never the goal. Confucianism grounds this in the mundane reality of daily life. It is not about chasing esoteric enlightenment. It is a philosophy of relentless daily cultivation. Becoming a noble person is not a sudden, dramatic event or a title you win. It is the profoundly unglamorous, repetitive process of waking up, adjusting your collar, and attempting to be slightly less terrible today than you were yesterday. It is the mundane chiseling of the soul that ultimately crafts a masterpiece. And yet, how do we fare against this wisdom? We are bred in the inescapable machinery of modern capitalism, brainwashed since birth to worship the scoreboard. Your grades, your salary, the square footage of your apartment, the pathetic number of followers on your screen, we believe these digits quantify our soul. We butcher our present peace to inflate those numbers. We exploit ourselves, view peers as obstacles, and when we inevitably fail to reach the mirage, we spiral into self-loathing. I am a failure. No, you are not a failure. You are just a fool who handed the steering wheel of your self-worth over to the uncontrollable casino of results. It is time for a philosophical detox. Letting go of results does not mean becoming an aimless vagabond. It means shifting your center of gravity from the unpredictable future to the absolute certainty of the present. We must abandon goal-oriented living and embrace system-oriented living. As James Clear articulates with identity-based habits, this is how we dismantle the illusion. Take a diet. A goal is, I will lose 5 kilos. This anchors your emotional stability to a piece of plastic on the bathroom floor. Until you lose it, you are a failure. When you do lose it, the goal vanishes and you rebound. A system is different, and identity is, I am someone who respects my body. The system is, I walk for 30 minutes daily. If you walk today, you have already won. The act itself is the victory. The same applies to the writer. Obsessing over becoming a bestseller paralyzes you. It is entirely out of your control. But if your system is, I brew coffee and write 1 page every morning, you are already living the deeply fulfilled life of an author, regardless of whether the world claps for you. Victory is not a verdict delivered by strangers in the future. Victory is whether you honored the small system you promised yourself today. Build your quiet, impenetrable systems, make your bed. Read 3 pages of philosophy on the subway instead of drowning in the toxic sludge of the morning news. Forgive yourself in the shower at night. These microscopic processes are your fortress against the chaos of the world. This daily cultivation is not glamorous. There is no confetti. But true nobility is not a crown placed on your head after a victorious battle. True nobility is the quiet, fierce grace of stepping onto the stage of today, indifferent to the outcome, completely absorbed in the dance. Your sweat, as you push today's boulder up the hill, knowing it will fall again, outshines any diamond. You are not a resume. You are not a bank balance. You are the courage it took to stand back up. Your life is not a waiting room for a future accomplishment. It is the radiant main event. Drop the baggage of the future and dance freely within the beautiful system of the present. If this bitter pill of truth from the philosophy goddess successfully dismantled your exhausting pursuit of the finish line, do not forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell. Or don't, and go back to blindly pushing your boulder while crying about the weight. The process is entirely yours to choose.